Yippee-yay!
Hi guys, and welcome to New Vegas Mod Organizer Part 1. Now this is an extension of my previous Mod Organizer series, and obviously it's going to be devoted to Fallout New Vegas. Now my previous Mod Organizer series was aimed at all of the different games that Mod Organizer could support, but it was a little Skyrim centric. I used Skyrim as the example. In these videos, what I'm going to be doing is quickly, and I use the word quickly compared to those videos, show you how that applies to Fallout New Vegas. I will be assuming that you are a veteran of modding Fallout New Vegas and that you have got the New Vegas script extender installed, possibly the 4GB enabler installed, although that's completely up to you, and you do understand the basics of modding for Fallout New Vegas. Now, if that is not the case, I would actually recommend you try modding using a tool such as Nexus Mod Manager. In fact, I would recommend you go through my series, Modding Fallout New Vegas, and follow the first few videos and get a feel for modding your game, and then when you're comfortable with it, come back to this series and try Mod Organizer. But if you are absolutely determined to just jump in, start modding Fallout New Vegas using Mod Organizer, at the very least you need NVSE installed and the 4GB enabler, as I said, and I will put links to a couple of videos that will cover that. The first video is the Guide to Modding Fallout New Vegas Part 1. You can ignore a lot of the stuff, but please pay special attention to the installation of NVSE and make sure you have that done before you go any further. I will on occasion suggest you go off and watch a certain video for more details, and will provide a link so that you can go there quickly. Now, I will not be introducing Mod Organizer in this video. I'm going to assume you know what it is and what the advantages are to using it. Again, if you have just jumped here immediately, I recommend you go and watch the first video in the Mod Organizer series, the introduction. I will leave a link here. It really is essential information for you. So, having got all of that out of the way, what am I going to be doing in this series? Well, what I'm going to be doing is taking you through the process of taking an existing modded game, Fallout New Vegas game, that has been modded with the Nexus Mod Manager, and turning it into a game that's been modded with Mod Organizer. So I will be going through all the steps such as backing up files, installing the tool, and using it to install mods, as well as how to transfer your existing mods over to Mod Organizer. I will be going at a reasonable pace, faster than normal for my tutorials, but not so fast that you will get lost. Oh, and I would like to point out, if you're the sort of person who wants everything explained within 2 minutes, my videos are definitely not for you. They're not aimed at you, and you probably should try and find a video that won't annoy you quite as much as mine is almost certainly going to.
And they sing, oh, ain't you glad you sing?
The first thing I'm going to do before transferring over to Mod Organizer is back up my existing Fallout New Vegas installation. Well, not the installation, the data folder. I actually have already done it. I simply selected the data folder and added it to an archive. And as you can see, it is rather large, 14.4 gigabytes. That is the entire data folder wrapped up into one archive. And if things go bad, if I don't manage to do this, I can always roll back to my original setup. I have also backed up the install info folder in Fallout New Vegas section of Nexus Mod Manager. Wherever your Nexus Mod Manager is, you will probably have a number of different games set up for it. If you go into there, you will see mods and install info. Mods, well, that's actually where all the downloads are stored. I'm going to leave those. And then there's the install info. Now, this is a kind of recording of all of the mods that you've got installed, what state they're in, and so on. If we have to put our original mod setup back, we're going to need this information, because this information is going to change when I deactivate all of the mods in Nexus Mod Manager. So I've done the same thing. I've just added to an archive all that information. This is actually quite small and didn't take that long. And just to be completely thorough, I took a backup of all of the files in users Gopher app data local Fallout New Vegas Fallout NV, especially the plugins.txt. Now I don't know if that is actually needed with Fallout New Vegas. It was for Skyrim, but better safe than sorry. So I've got a backup copy of my plugins.txt file, which is going to be very useful. And if you want to see how to restore your game, you can go back and check the mod organizer video I did when transferring my Skyrim game from Nexus Mod Manager over to Mod Organizer, and you can see the process in reverse. That video actually covers this subject in far more detail, and so if you do need to roll back, if you are interested in knowing the ins and outs of why I'm doing this, go and watch that video. The process is identical, it's just different folders, obviously. And so now I have my backup. I'm going to basically deactivate all of the mods in the Nexus Mod Manager. In fact, I wonder actually, can I deactivate all of them at once? No, it's just the first one. Okay, so I have to deactivate all of these one at a time. You actually don't need to do this. You could just delete all of the files in the data folder. That would actually work. And if you, the only problem is when you rebooted Nexus Mod Manager, you would get all of this information telling you that you had these mods installed even though you didn't. There are ways around that as well, but as a general rule, I think it is a little time consuming. It's going to take me a couple of minutes to deactivate each and every one of these one at a time, but it will work. And there you have it. All of the mods deactivated. Now I'm not going to delete them, because if I delete them here, it will actually delete them from the folder, and I'm going to use those downloads to transfer my mods over to Mod Organizer later on. But I'm not actually completely finished. If I visit my data folder, I can see a few things left behind. For example, in NVSE, there is a plugin left behind by Project Nevada. Now, that shouldn't have been left behind and is installed by the mod, so I can remove that. The NVSE config.ini file, however, I think I'm going to keep. This is a little setting that allows the game to use more memory. However, I'm going to add it using the mod organizer, so I'm going to cut this out for now, just place this on my desktop. I will deal with it later on, but I can now ignore everything in there. And you'll also see plenty of backup files. You will see archive invalidation that I've added via Nexus Mod Manager and so on. There's a few things here. There are also some BSA files and some ESPs that I created myself. The merge patch, for example, that is not part of any mod. I will probably create a new merge patch. I probably will. And I don't really need to take backups of these because I have got a complete backup in the archive I showed you earlier. Now, the easiest way to do this, believe it or not, is to simply go along to data and delete the entire data folder and then verify integrity. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. That is the easiest way. If you want to avoid having to download some of the larger files, one possible way to do that is to delete all the folders and then delete anything that is not one of the main ESPs. I mean, to be honest with you, with a lot of these files being as small as they are, like the caravan pack, you could probably delete those and the game will re-download them for you. But if you really, really don't want to do that, you can go through here, find the ones, find things with like .nam. You probably still need those. You could actually leave quite a few of these files behind, or go by size and just say, all right, these ones I do need, these ones I need. Anything below here, say classic pack or below. I mean, most of these are actually official files. They're official files. I will almost certainly need them. But again, I don't have to worry too much about it. So there you go. Gunrunner's Arsenal I need. I'm going to delete those. But in fact, just to show you, I'm going to say, right, I'm going to keep the really, really big ones, and I'm going to delete everything from update down. I'm going to kill them off. I'm going to remove them. I've kept some of the big files so that the verification process won't take a huge amount of time. But of course, now if I ran my game, it would have problems. There are some missing files. So now I'm going to verify the game. And to do that, I simply go along to the game in my Steam library. I right-click it. I go along to Properties and Local Files, Verify Integrity of Game Cache. It will check for a little while. It will figure out which files I have deleted that I should not, and it will re-download them. If you delete the entire data folder, it will, of course, download all of them. So you will have fresh copies of all your files. And in fact, that might be worth doing if you don't mind downloading it. You will then have a completely fresh data folder. And there you go for me. 292 files failed to validate. So some of the folders that I deleted contained files that I probably need. So it is now going to start downloading those. And I'll wait a few minutes and it'll be done. And there it is. It's finished. And as you can see, my data folder now has a lot of files back, but it is pretty clean. Now, of course, this will also have reset any of the files you've changed in your game folder. So if you have changed anything like falloutnewvegas.exe, perhaps you've used something that makes it 4 GB aware. I don't actually think that works for Fallout New Vegas, to be honest, because the 4 GB extender is a separate executable now. I am actually going to leave my game folder pretty much untouched. I'm going to leave NVSE installed because I will obviously need it, and Mod Organizer will not handle this for you. So I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to leave the 4 GB executable here as well. I am basically now ready to go. I have a completely fresh, realistically, a completely fresh installation of Fallout New Vegas that has the 4 GB extender and NVSE. If you are actually doing this for the first time, if you've just installed Fallout New Vegas and you're going to start using Mod Organizer, you still need to install things like NVSE and the 4 GB extender manually. You have to do that yourself. You're going to have to do that in the game folder, so do that before you start installing mods with Mod Organizer. Now, trust me, you're going to need those programs. You're certainly going to need NVSE. One last very important point: if you have been using the Darnified UI, do remember to change your ini files. If I go along to Documents, My Games, Fallout New Vegas, if I go along to my Fallout Preferences and I search for fonts, I will find a section that has been altered by Darn's UI. This is going to need to be changed back. As you can see, this symbol means it's been commented out. I need to put that back in and comment out this one. Anything with Darn, you need to comment out anything with Darn. Anything that's been commented out, you need to uncomment. And then comment anything with the word Darn in it. I get Glow Monofonto, that is not a Darn font, so that's okay. And so on. You could, if you want to, delete the prefs file and generate a new one. That is also an option. But for me, I'm just going to do the following. And the easy way to check that you have done it correctly is you should have sfont file 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and not one of them should be a Darn font, shouldn't have the word Darn in it. This is one of those times where Notepad++ is probably going to be better than using Notepad. Well, there are many cases where that is true, but as you can see, I can clearly see the green ones have been commented out, so they will not be used, the Darn ones, and the black ones are the ones in use. So there you go. I now have my Fallout Prefs.ini set correctly for not having Darnified UI. Don't worry if you're thinking to yourself, but I'm going to use the Darnified UI. That's fine. we're going to use the profiles so that each of our profiles has its own ini file, and this will just mean the very basic game, the very untouched, unmodded game will be using the vanilla UI. And you might not intend ever using the game without the Darnified UI, I know I don't, but it is good to have a baseline, a vanilla baseline that really is about as unmodded as you can get. Then finally, it's probably a good idea to just check everything works. Now, with such a big change, it is a very good idea to run the Fallout New Vegas launcher first to actually boot this up. Have a look at the options, check they've been set correctly, and then play the game from this interface. Just play it once, make sure it actually boots up and goes into the menu. And once it does, just quit. I then would also recommend checking the NVSE loader. Run that just again. Check that it's now working with NVSE. Now with New Vegas, you don't have to worry about things like scripts. The scripts are not in the data folder as they are for Skyrim. So the game will actually run with NVSE just like this, without any problems, without any added mods. And then finally, I'm going to try the FNV 4GB.exe and make sure it runs. Now I can actually tell you that when I try to run the 4GB.exe without running the launcher first, it actually crashes when I do this. So this is one of the reasons I do this. I just go through all the process, run each of the executable one at a time, and there you go. My Fallout New Vegas is pretty much vanilla. It's working, it has NVSE installed, it does have the 4GB extender installed, and that is about it. I am ready to start modding the game with Mod Organizer. So, of course, the next step is to actually install Mod Organizer for Fallout New Vegas. Now, I did a complete video on installing and setting this program up for Skyrim, and the process is pretty much identical. So if you have not seen that or you're a little unsure, go and watch that full video. Again, the process is pretty much identical. I'll be going through it reasonably quickly here. So obviously the first thing I'm going to do is download the file. In fact, I've already done that. I have the file downloaded to my desktop. And then it's a simple matter of double click, run the file, next, I agree, and have MO handle download NMM links on Nexus. That already happens for me, but I actually think I should do that as well. Start menu includes a start menu shortcut for Mod Organizer and its uninstaller. I'm not sure I need that. That's up to you. Leave everything else selected. Then next. And now I have to decide where to put it. And like with the Skyrim installation, I do recommend you place it directly in the game folder for the game in question, Fallout New Vegas in this case. So Steam Apps, Common, Fallout New Vegas. So there you go. For me, it's Steam Apps, Common, Fallout New Vegas / Mod Organizer, and then I'll install it from there. And of course, it's offering to run Mod Organizer straight away. I think I will do that. Yes, why not? Update 1.2.14 has been released. That is, in fact, the version I'm using. You're starting Mod Organizer for the first time. Do you want to show a tutorial? If you have not used Mod Organizer before, I would recommend you do so. I am not. I just want to see what is going on. And there you have it. Mod Organizer has now run. I have NVSE detected, New Vegas, the construction kit, and the Fallout launcher. It has not detected the 4GB launcher right now, but there you go. I could run it from NVSE and it would run the vanilla game with NVSE. The initial setup is pretty much identical to the process for Skyrim, so check out that video for the full details, including how to connect to Nexus and so on. However, there is one thing I would like to add, something that has come up since I made that video. I am going to click on Advanced here, and it will open up the download directory, the mod directory, and the cache directory. Now, the mod directory, I pretty much recommend leaving it as it is. This puts the mods under your Fallout New Vegas folder, And of course that means it's going to add those files, the mod files, to the same drive you have the game on, which is exactly how it was when you were modding using something like Nexus Mod Manager and so on. So if you're using an SSD, those files will be fast. That will reduce your load times and so on. However, I do recommend shifting the download directory if you're using a small fast drive like an SSD drive, basically because you want the speed, but it's usually those drives are not as big as the large hard drives where you store data. And the default location for the download directory is the same place under Mod Organizer under Fallout New Vegas. This realistically means you're doubling the space taken up by those mods on your game folder. So I actually recommend, well, again, if like me, you want to save space on your game drive, change this location. So I'm not going to have mine under my Steam apps. I'm actually going to have it on a separate hard drive. Now this hard drive is actually an SSD, but it's where I keep the Nexus Mod Manager downloads and the Mod Organizer downloads. So if you go along to Mod Organizer, I've added a folder, Fallout New Vegas. I've already got a Skyrim one and a Fallout 3, but I had to add the Fallout New Vegas one. I recommend you do the same if you're doing this process. And then something like downloads, select that, and then select folder. So it is now putting the downloads there. Now don't worry, this will not slow the game down in the slightest. This is just the downloads, the source files, the things you're going to use to install the mods. Once they're installed and being used by the game, they will be here on, in my case, my fast SSD. But that is enough for the start. I'm going to have the compact download interface set, and I'm ready to go, pretty much. Of course, I am going to need to set up the 4GB enhancer. Go to edit. I'm going to have title New Vegas 4GB. And the binary is going to be Fallout New Vegas, that one. Starting, doesn't need to change anything. Add, close MO when started. I think I probably want to close Mod Organizer once I start from this. Well, to be honest with you, not necessarily. I'm going to start an icon to go straight into the game once I get it set up. So for now, I'm going to leave this unchecked, and I'm going to add. So I now have that one, and that should now run. And there you go. In the main menu, I'm going to open up the console and do get NVSe version 4. So it's loaded the 4GB. It has loaded NVSe, and it is running just fine from Mod Organizer. You can also check the nxmhandler.exe file under Fallout New Vegas Mod Organizer, and just check that the supported games are set up correctly. If you want to see details about that, again, check out the installation video for Mod Organizer that I did for Skyrim. That will cover how to actually get different mod managers working for different games. As you can see in this case, I've actually got 3 different versions of Mod Organizer, each of them working for a different game. Okay guys, that is actually it for this video. We've now got Mod Organizer installed, we've got a backup of our old mods, and we're pretty much ready to go. And that's what we're going to do in part 2. I'm going to show you how to set up a base profile, a profile that you will use to create all of your other profiles, and I'll show you how to install what I consider to be the essential mods for Fallout New Vegas. And believe it or not, once you can install those mods, you'll more or less be able to install 95% of the mods out there. So, if you want to join me for that video, you are more than welcome, and I will look forward to seeing you there. So, until then, remember, as always, have fun.
Jingle,
Jingle jangle,
as I go riding merrily along.
jingle jangle.
They sing, oh, ain't you glad you're